Tom Keesee was in the news today. He was in an article. Today is October 28, 2025. And this article came out by WSYX staff. And the title is Faith Life Church Leaders Ordered to Court in Son's Essay Case. It reads that the executive pastors of Faith Life Church in New Albany have been ordered to appear in court in connection to the essay case against their son, Gary Keesee Jr. That's Tom Keesee, a former leader of the church. It reads that the court has also ordered his brother and sister-in-law to appear before a judge. It reads that Tom Keesee faces 32 charges, 13 of which are counts of R-word for alleged abuse that occurred between 2001 and 2012. It also reads that prosecutors say that at least 3 victims attended the church and that a 4th victim claims they were younger than 13 when R-worded. Tom Keesee is set to go to trial on November 18th and could face life in prison if found guilty. All right, so I read that for a reason. First off, it caught my attention because of the title. It said that his parents have been ordered to court. So what do? I look at the docket. If you've been watching me, I've been doing that. So first off, before I get to that, let me just tell you, this part where it says that at least 3 victims attended the church and that a 4th was younger than 13 when R-worded, all of the victims, and there's 4, all of the victims, and there was 4, one of them being his sister, they were all under the age of 13. The way that this is written suggests that only one of them were. Not accurate. Sometimes that happens. I noticed that. It just, hey, we all get stuff wrong. But the way that it's written suggests that only one. That's not true. All 4 were under the age of 13. The next thing is the title. It says that it intimates that it's Gary and Drenda who were ordered to court. So I went to the docket. The last time I did an update was after the most recent docket entry, which was September 26, 2025. So around that time or shortly thereafter, I did an update and I talked about subpoenas that were issued, which is to the police, which is to the prosecution's expert, who is an essay expert, a counselor, Patty Workman, Clayton Bowley, Polly Patton, who I believe is Tom's sister, Linda and Mark Wilford, Amy Frutiger, who is also Tom's sister, and then the alleged victims. So the newest entries start with last Thursday, which was October 23rd, 2025, where the prosecutor indicated that they provided supplemental discovery to the defense attorney. Then yesterday, which was October 27th, again, there was another entry. The prosecutor indicated that they provided supplemental discovery to the defense attorney. What does that mean? Just additional information. It could be evidence. It could be videos. It could be text messages. It could be reports by witnesses, which leads to the next entry. October 27th, subpoenas were issued to Tim Keesee, Alicia Keesee, and Justin Yentis. So I don't know if there were statements that they made that comprises that supplemental discovery. We don't know. But that article did reference that his brother and sister-in-law, and I do have that on my thumbnail, that his brother and sister-in-law were subpoenaed because it does show up on the docket. I don't know who Justin Yentis is. If anybody knows, let me know. So the prosecution has subpoenaed Tim Keesee, Alicia Keesee. Some of you are thinking, oh, great, because, they knew what was going on. Well, I'll tell you what. If the prosecution has subpoenaed them, it's not the intention isn't to get them to admit that they did something. They're not the ones being prosecuted, and they have a right to assert the Fifth Amendment if they believe that answering a certain question could incriminate them. So there's that. What would their testimony be comprised of? Well, it could be support, corroboration for a victim or a witness. If a victim or a witness says, I saw this happen or this happened to me on this date, an event at this place, and perhaps their testimony would corroborate that. Well, that would certainly be helpful, beneficial to the prosecution to show there are multiple sources that are corroborating this event took place on this date, right? So we have to ask, and people are asking that, well, Gary and Drenda, are they going to be subpoenaed? So I'm sure that there people are talking because this article just came out today. Well, like I said, the prosecution didn't subpoena them. So I suspect that perhaps if they were subpoenaed, the defense subpoenaed them. And what would they be saying? Well, anything to help their son, right? That's why they would be subpoenaed by the defense, to help their son. Would they be admitting that they did something wrong? No, because if the prosecution in their cross-examination of them, if they were, put on the stand by the defense attorney, well, they could assert the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination if they were asked something and they believe that the answer could potentially incriminate them. So we've been waiting for months because there has been allegations that Gary, Drenda, Tim, and Alicia, that they knew about allegations of SA against Tom Keesee. That's still hanging out there. Still hanging out there. In the meantime, 3 weeks from today, on November 18th, the jury trial will start. Now, as I've said before, anything can happen in between then and now. Now we're 3 weeks away. What can happen? Well, there was some more discovery that defense just got yesterday. I don't know what it is, but if the defense attorney feels like, oh, we need some additional time to go through this additional supplemental discovery, therefore we need another continuance. Remember, they already asked for a continuance back in the end of June because it was set for July 1st. So they got that continuance, and that is why the jury trial is now scheduled for November 18th. Could it be continued again? It's possible. Don't know. But there's just been 2 entries of more discovery that was given. And we're just, less than a month out. So, not sure. And now there's these new subpoenas issued 3 weeks out from trial. What are they going to say? Don't know. We'll have to find out. I'm going to be there. I will be up there for the trial. I will be sitting in the courtroom. And I've told you guys this, the 18th, that's the day it starts. They will pick the jury. Sometimes it takes a couple hours. Sometimes it takes a full day. I anticipate that it might take longer than usual because there's so many parties. They have to make sure that the potential panel, they don't know any of the victims. They don't know any of the the witnesses. They don't know any of the police involved. They don't know, the defense attorney, the prosecutors, right? And of course that they don't know Tom or, Gary and Drenda. And people are in that community, they might know some people. So I'm not sure how big that panel will be. They're going to have to decide. And after they pick the jury, then they'll do their opening statements. Prosecution goes first, then the defense, and then the prosecution puts on their case in chief. They put on their victims, they put on their witnesses, they enter in evidence if there's any tangible evidence, and then they rest, meaning they're done, they closed, they put on everything that they feel that they needed to support all the elements of the crimes that were charged against Tom. Then the defense attorney, he could put on his case if he so wished, right? A lot of times what they do is they just attack the victims, attack the witnesses, try to attack their credibility. We saw that in the Sean Combs trial where he didn't put on a case. And he did pretty well with it. Of course, he had a slew of attorneys. My understanding is that Tom only has one defense attorney. I haven't seen an entrance of an appearance of another attorney as co-counsel. It's just the one. So unknown whether he will actually put on a case. Another thing that we should consider still is that there could be a plea deal. Obviously, the victims would have to be on board with that. We saw that with Cindy Clemenshire. She was on board with what was ultimately agreed to by Robert Morris. And obviously, the Attorney General's office, they would have had to have been in agreement with it, and she would have had to have been in agreement with it. And we saw post sentencing that she was. Yes, he only got 6 months in jail, but he has 10 years under the supervision of the judge, meaning once he gets out, and if he violates any provision, any condition of the probation, he could be looking at going to prison for up to 10 years. That's the reality of that. When you're under court supervision, that's a big deal. People don't seem to understand that, I think. If you've never been involved in, if you never worked in a court, if you've never worked in probation services, never worked as a, attorney, criminal law. But yeah, that's a lot. People don't want to be under court supervision for 10 years. So that is big. And obviously, he has to register as, an offender that starts with SCX. So there's that. All right. So let me see if there was something else I want to talk about. No, not with that, but I will definitely continue to keep you updated. I'm going to continue watching the docket as we get closer to trial to see if something changes. I will update you. Some people, I can't remember how many, asked me about where David Taylor is being housed as he was detained. He was detained on October 17th. Then he had that appeal on 21st. He's detained. He's going to be detained until his trial, which is in April 2026. Well, I looked in the inmate locator for the Bureau of Prisons. He's not even in there. His name doesn't even come up. So I found other David Taylors, but it wasn't him. I don't know where they're housing him. I don't know if he's under the protection or custody of the marshals. And I don't know. I don't know where he is, but he's in custody. He is detained, and he will be brought forward to court, federal court in Detroit, Michigan in April. As you know, federal cases are not, there's no live feed. There's no cameras. There's no audio. So we're going to have to rely on the local reporters up there, unless I decide to go up there. I don't know at this point if I will, but we'll see. But I am going to the one in Ohio, Keesee, in 3 weeks. The last thing I wanted to say, and I think that I need to just say it more often in my videos, is just a reminder, and I've said this before. If you're looking to contact me, I do provide my email, and you can certainly just comment and ask for it and get it. I've given my email a lot. It's vjohnson@77alpha.com. Do not contact my law firm. It's been happening increasingly. I don't know why. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Do not contact my law firm. My law firm is entirely separate from this channel. The people that are employed by this law firm have nothing to do with my channel. And it is unfair to ask them to do anything to try to get me on the phone. It disrupts my office. So please do not contact my law firm. I've never given out the name. I've never given out the number. So there's a reason for that. It's separate. Also, another reminder, my channel is a commentary channel. I do not give out legal advice. So if you are contacting me, do not ask me for legal advice, because I do not give it. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And hopefully that will get sorted out and that it won't happen anymore. Again, vjohnson@77alpha. If you're trying to reach me, you can do so by email. I can't promise you that it will be a prompt response. I work all day, every day, sometimes into the night at my law firm, and I do the podcast when I can. So one last thing. I will have an interview this coming Saturday, which is November 1st. And so stay tuned for that. I believe that might likely be my next video, unless there's something that just pops off between now and then that I want to comment on quickly. I might do a quick update on that, especially if it's something with the Tom Keesee trial, because as I've said before, as you get closer to trial, stuff starts happening. Motions get filed. there could be a request for a continuance. If there is, I believe it would come from his attorney. It looks to me that the prosecution is ready to go. So, all right, that's the update, and I will see you in the next video.